As early as technology has allowed us, we have filmed ourselves making music, and as technology has evolved, production value has become more important than ever. I mean, we film basically every single version of music that we possibly can. And with time, the live video has changed from being merely a documentation of an event, in case you couldn't be there live, to an art form within itself. I am of the opinion that it is easy to make a live experience feel good to its audience, but the fact that we can make a recording feel visceral and authentic, that is something that has always fascinated me. Today we ask the question, what makes a live recording great? Now I can hear the hate comments already. Surely, Peter, you can't be saying that watching a YouTube video is comparable to experiencing the music being performed live. A DVD can never hope to measure up to the feeling of pure exhilaration that comes from musicians giving their all right in front of you. Okay. Now, I have been fortunate enough to experience live music more than once in my life. Because my family loves music, I have very early memories of going to the theater and seeing artists perform live. I've traveled cross country with friends to see a band performing in South Africa for the first time. I've endured long bus rides and camped out for a good spot at festivals so I can be as close to the music as possible. So I acknowledge there's a certain experience that sets it apart. But when you say a recording doesn't measure up, I want to ask what the metric is we're working with here. My goal is not to be contrarian, but I urge any person who disapproves of live recordings to evaluate the pros of going out to a live show outside of the quote-unquote experience. Now, when I say live recording, a couple of different things might come to mind. There are live sessions, recorded workshops, official live videos, and full concerts recorded for later enjoyment, all of which have different merits. And I want to briefly touch on all of these with the goal of dissecting our love for live concerts in video format. I should say there was a time that I felt like a live recording is an attempt to replace the experience of seeing a band live. But I think this couldn't be farther from the truth. I've often had the conversation.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to watch the John Mayer Where the Light Is by John Mayer Live in LA show by John Mayer on DVD, but it can never compare to actually being there in the front row.
Yeah, but you'd be lying to me if you told me that standing for 2 hours doesn't have its flaws, that having 2-story speakers right next to your ears is the best way to experience the subtle instrumentation. Perhaps the question we should be asking is, what's the reason you've elected to digest music? I want to point out that going out to a live show is an act of active listening. No one is driving to a big performance of insert big artist's name here so they can have some chill music in the background to do their taxes to. No, going to a live show is always for the purpose of digestion, and it is in that area that recorded media might arguably be superior. If we're talking digestion and interpretation, going deep into the arrangements, do you think you're getting the best audio quality on that rainy day in that stadium? No, rather you're experiencing something completely different. Keep in mind that you also have to share this experience with a couple of thousand people in some circumstances, and for some people, that is extremely uncomfortable. It is also excessively expensive to go watch artists live. And granted, one of the big reasons this might be is because of streaming services and the fact that we can enjoy most things at home have basically ended up making it so that bands can only make money when they perform live. Accessibility is also an issue with live shows, because I can't see every artist I respect live. Many artists don't tour everywhere. I can't tell you how many times I've been disappointed to see one of my favorite bands announce a world tour and there are no dates in an area that I could remotely get to. And when you do get to go to a live show, if you want a good spot, you're gonna have to show up 3 hours early, and it's a standing venue. And of course, there are a couple of hours of the opening acts before the band even shows up, and by the time the show has ended, you've been on your feet for a good 6 hours. And then finally, and I cannot emphasize this enough, live shows aren't re-experienceable. Recordings are. One of my earliest memories of a recorded live experience touching me was with the 2-disc DVD set of Phil Collins' Finally, the First Farewell Tour. rewatching that 3-drummer intro dozens of times, finding out you can watch some of the segments from multiple angles, familiarizing myself with each subtle arrangement choice that made it different from the album versions of these classic songs. All this added up to possibly being one of the reasons I pursued music in the first place. If I had seen that exact show once, but live, it would serve now as a conversation piece. Sure, yeah, I went to go watch Phil Collins live, it was really inspiring and really great, but not a vital part of me learning to music differently. But Peter, a recording has all this extra production, and they add all these trimmings, camera angles and lights and editing, and worst of all, additions to the recordings. Now this is true often when live shows are recorded and distributed. Musicians will add quite a bit of production to enhance the viewing experience. But is production the thing you feel is stealing from you? Be honest, no matter where in the chain from musician to audience you land, there are at all times 2 to 10 layers of production between you and the music. You can sit in the front row with John Mayer's sweat splashing mere inches away from you, but there's still an audio engineer EQing every frequency to ensure that no sound is out of place, mixing every mic and instrument to create a product much greater than the sum of its parts. And if you think none of this matters, why is it that a cell phone recording of a gig is a bit disappointing after seeing a nice produced version?
First of all, the things that I hate now are the way concerts sound like on your iPhone when you record it. I can't make out what's what. It's just white noise.
Production value is a good thing for music digestion. And I think if you're a musician, you'll completely agree. Music should be the point.
So I feel like if you get good parts of shows on video or something, I can always sync it up. Or you could sync it up with the audio. I'd love to give people high quality sounding stuff.
Now, I mentioned earlier there are different kinds of live recordings, and I put that in big quotes. There are these session videos where you're watching recording sessions as the music is being produced in a studio environment. The reason I bring this up is because it can be controversial. Many bands will emulate this look to create a sense of authenticity. For the purpose of this video essay, obviously I can't count those as live recordings, but I do think this points to a vital reason we like live recordings. We feel it captures and reproduces music at its most authentic. I think the greatest thing about these live sessions is we see a musician making music, but not performing for an audience. A lot of the less good live shows I've watched in preparation for this video, I see a lot of musicians putting emphasis on being looked at and not making music. Now, full concerts recorded for later distribution are probably what most people think of when they hear the word live recording. These shows, in the right circumstances, are the definitive versions of the performed pieces. Rearrangements of the music, unique reinterpretations by the artist, little things that make the recordings more memorable. It's the improvisational solos in the beginning of Slow Dancing in a Burning Room. It's the energy in the room at all these NPR Tiny Desk concerts. And with the added layer of production, these improved versions can remain enjoyable. Now, with that being said, I think I might have found the perfect live recording. Wolfpack live at Madison Square Garden might just be the best thing I've seen in the last 10 years. 18 of the best performers killing it for an hour and 44 minutes straight, with tight, hard-hitting arrangements that just demand one's attention. And here's the kicker. The whole thing, the whole hour and 44 minutes is one uncut, continuous shot. But the cameraman isn't just running around seeing what's cool. He knows the music in and out. Here's an example where he makes sure he lands on the drummer and bassist Joe Dart exactly as the bass feature in the song happens. Wolfpack's arrangements are often built on very simple ideas that are being expanded on by different layers of musicians. And this format makes sure we see all those little details being added as they want us to see them. The idea of one continuous shot is becoming more commonplace in session videos on YouTube, but for a whole show, a whole hour and 44 minutes? It just blows my mind! And then to reiterate, the musicians absolutely give their all. If I achieve only one thing with this stupid video, let it be that more people have taken the time to go see the Wolfpack live in Madison Square Garden video. The best part is the whole gosh darn thing has been made available for free on their YouTube channel. I feel like they've taken absolutely everything that's good about every different kind of live session and somehow just applied it to one thing that you can go watch for free. Please Please watch the thing. Something I didn't really mention, but I think is really important as well, is the recorded workshop. This is usually an event where the musician works through some of his or her music in a more educational context, often followed by questions from a much smaller audience. If you're a musician who feels a bit stuck and uninspired, try hunting down a workshop by one of your favorite musicians. This one by Nick Johnston has been influencing me as a guitarist and a songwriter quite a bit as of late. These are an absolutely great way to get into the head of your favorite creators. Earlier I asked the question, why is it that you digest music? Is it to escape something? Is it so you can join in a social experience with other people? Because then perhaps live experience is more preferable to you. Is music just wallpaper to the thing you're really here for? But then again, if you're the kind of person who cares more about the vibe provided by an experience than the music itself, you probably don't watch my videos, to be fair. But if you want to take in the music long term, if you want it to mold you, if you want it to touch you perpetually so you can learn from it and grow from it, especially if you're a musician, you don't have to be in the front row. Hey, thanks for watching the thing. This video took me longer to make than I thought it would. I've had this idea for a good half a year and never really found the words. Still haven't. But it's on YouTube now. If perhaps you're new to the channel, please do the thing that means that you'll see more of this. I've always genuinely loved live shows. I want to make that clear. I love experiencing music in a live setting, at a venue. I wouldn't be able to make a living if people didn't enjoy going to shows. If you enjoy my videos, you're probably a music enthusiast and thus have a live show that you have in your mind that's your favorite one. Tell me about it. Plus, when people comment on the videos perform better, so. As some of you might know, at time of recording, Jacob Collier has recently started uploading what he's calling beat sketches on his YouTube channel and encouraging people to make music with it, and I've started doing that. So if this is the first video you watch, maybe go check out, at time of recording, I've done the first one. It's some of the most fun I've had in a while making music, and I'll be doing, I believe he'll be uploading 5 or so, and I'll definitely be doing that. So if you're interested in weird, wacky jazz arrangements, another reason to subscribe. If you like the things I said in this video, share it with a friend, and if you didn't like the things I said, watch it again, like at least 100 times. Okay, bye.